Okay, SEC Championship preview. We got Vlad with me today. I'm JC. Texas versus Georgia. Two powerhouse teams, number 2 versus number 5. I was talking with Zach today, not as climactic as the championship games normally are, because at the end of the day, both these teams are going to have a spot in the CFP. But Vlad, what can we expect from this game?
Yeah, I mean, not sure that it has the insanely big game implications that you want it to have with a matchup like these two. It's at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, so I do expect a Georgia faithful to be there. Pretty much a Georgia home game. I mean, I don't know, but if I do remember right, Texas was favored. I don't know how much I like that. Texas really hasn't played anyone crazy. I mean, they beat A&M last week. They already lost to Georgia once. So I kind of like Georgia again. But yeah, that's just kind of my 2 cents.
Absolutely. I love how you hit on the fact that it's at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. I don't know. I feel as if I know they got to schedule these ahead of time and stuff, but scheduling a Georgia home game, like you said, is just kind of unfair to Texas, who was the number 1 seed in the SEC. Although Texas fans are going to show up, but not as much in full force as Bulldog Nation.
Yeah.
Texas is favored by 2.5, which is interesting. I think this will be a contested game. So what's one thing that is on the mind of many fans is the quarterback battle. Both Carson Beck and Quinn Ewers, I saw them mocked in the first round at the beginning of the year. Quinn Ewers had an okay season. Carson Beck also been okay, but I wouldn't say first round material. No. What 2 cents would you give in about these quarterbacks or the offenses as a whole?
I mean, I've never really been on the Carson Beck train. I know he's always been like highly regarded as like a high school prospect and even like in college too. I just don't really see like the first round quarterback upside with him, I guess. I mean, there's passes here and there that you're like, okay, that was a good pass. It's an NFL throw, but it's nothing that it's like, wow, like this dude could play in the league tomorrow, and I'd have no reservations about it. But I would say yours is a little different. I don't know. He just some of the throws he makes, some of the plays he makes, it just kind of screams more of like, hey, this guy could get drafted and he could play and be a decent quarterback in the league. But as the year's shaken out, I don't think either one of them are a top quarterback that are going to be taken in whenever the draft is April. So,
yeah, I would 100% agree with you here. Carson Beck, he's an intriguing one to me. Of course, saw him mocked at like number 1 preseason.
Yeah,
I was like, whoa, how? Obviously, from what I understand, from what I've seen on like X and heard from other people, he's got a Lamborghini. That's cool. Lamborghini truck, Lambo Urus.
Yeah, I'm sure that NIL money's pretty nice down there at Georgia.
Yeah, and he's linked with one of the Cavender twins, so definitely a social media frenzy background there on his behalf. But in 2 big road games, he hasn't really stepped up. Alabama, he threw. Of course, he came back in that game, but he ended up throwing 3 interceptions. I know he threw for 400 yards to lead him back, but just dug too deep of a hole for himself. And then Ole Miss only scored 10 points against Ole Miss, 186 yards and a pick. I'm not sure if I can trust him in big games, especially, I mean, their season was kind of on the line last week against Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
And went to 8 overtimes. And a lot of them he didn't convert, the 2-point conversions. But
Yeah,
let's move.
it's just
Let's move.
the whole. Sorry to interrupt, but just
Oh, no
the
problem.
Georgia Tech game. The Georgia Tech game was just a little alarming to me. I mean,
I
you
would
have
agree.
to win the game. You're way more talented than Georgia Tech is. I don't know. It shouldn't have taken that long to win the game.
Would 100% agree with that. How about the other side of the ball? I know defense isn't really that talked about that much, but are there any players or schemes that intrigue you on either the other side of the ball or with the skill players or even special teams?
Um, I mean, Georgia's always going to have the defensive line. That's
Right.
just kind of who they are. Against Texas, though, I mean, it's definitely negated a little bit less just because all these huge schools that we're going to be seeing play here, like they have more than capable offensive lines. So it's not going to be like where they're playing lower level schools and the offensive line just gets bullied. So I think it'll be more competitive. I mean, it just depends on how the quarterbacks react and if they're able to evade sacks and get out of the pocket.
I would agree. A couple players I'm keeping my eye on, then we'll go to predictions. You can comment on any of these guys, but an interesting one that I might be keeping my eye on is Arch Manning. I know you might not expect that because he doesn't play much, but had that rushing touchdown last week against Texas A&M. Haynes King for Georgia Tech ran all over
Yeah.
uh, Georgia at over 100 yards. Um, and Haynes King, obviously a good runner, great competitor, but that run by Arch Manning showed some strength and agility. He's got some wheels. So I'd be curious if he steps up in this game. And then Quintavion Wisner, running back for Texas, had a great running game against Texas A&M, kind of sealed the game in that regard. On the Georgia side, um, to be honest, there haven't been many offensive weapons that have really impressed me that much. Of course, last year he had Brock Bowers, who an incredible tight end, might win Rookie of the Year this year in the NFL. And then you had Lad McConkey, who playing pretty well for the Chargers
Yeah, he's
this year.
already Herbert's number one guy.
Absolutely. Um, but you never know what you're going to get. Um, I'm looking for Trevor Etienne here to step up. Only 477 rushing yards. I know he's been hurt a little bit, but he was their top portal guy
Yeah.
this offseason. And so I think if he steps up, maybe Georgia can make this a game.
Yeah, I agree. I like your take on Arch, though. I would hope that Texas would at least have some sort of package for him, just if they get closer to the goal line or need a design run or whatever it is. But I mean, there's also the case that Ewers gets hurt or whatever, and hey, they already have that package lined up for him. Then it's really
Mhm.
put the use there. So
That's a great point. Ewers was a little banged up last game. So I wonder if that injury might still be plaguing him a little bit. But let's go to predictions now. According to ESPN, Texas favored by 2.5, like you said. Do you have any predictions for this game? And what do you think is going to transpire here on the football field?
um, I mean the game being in Atlanta just kind of sells a lot for me. And with Texas already losing to Georgia once, I mean, it's kind of hard not to take Georgia. Not that I love Georgia by any means on
Mhm.
paper. I mean, I've already gave my explanation on Carson Beck, but I think Georgia wins this one closely.
Yeah, I think you hit it kind of on the head here. I think the home field advantage is going to play a role for sure. Georgia is undefeated at home. Lost those two road games in tough environments. Um, the one thing that's kind of pushing me maybe a little bit toward Texas is just I think they've been the better team this year,
Mhm.
and B, like Zach and I were talking about earlier in the Mountain West preview, it's tough to beat a good team twice in one season.
Yeah.
But I agree. I'm going to take the Bulldogs here. Are you taking over or under 49.5 points?
I'll go over.
Over.
I'll say like 27-24, Georgia.
27-24. I could see it being around there. I'll say 26-20. Now, obviously, not to suggest that this game doesn't have much on the line. Obviously, probably on the line is a 1 seed in the CFP, or 2 seed
Yeah.
probably, because we'll talk about Oregon next. But that means a first round bye for the winner, and probably not a first round bye for the loser. So definitely a lot to play for. Is the SEC the best conference in America, football conference?
Yeah.
I would agree as well. Even though
I don't really
SEC
think it's a
fans,
debate.
I agree. I don't think it's a debate either. SEC fans, as we know, can be somewhat insufferable sometimes, but we love them.
Yeah. Yeah, we do.
SEC, good season. Texas, Georgia fans, good luck tomorrow.
Yeah.